Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Curious Realm's continuing coverage of the Roswell UFO Festival right here at the International UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico. We have the great pleasure of being joined by Dennis Balthaser. He is the creator of the Roswell Tour documentary, and for years prior to COVID, you actively did live on-site tours of the crash site, things like that.
For 7 years to a day.
Wow. Now, what brought you into doing that?
Back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, I'd lay in the backyard and wonder what was out there. Then I started hearing about Roswell a little bit through books. I bought another book. I wound up donating 350 books to the library here.
Wow.
And I'm convinced that it was a cover-up. I can't tell you it was aliens. I don't know that for a fact. But whatever it was, it's been covered up for 77 years.
Yeah.
So basically, that's how I got started.
Wow.
My background is civil engineering.
Okay.
I had 3 years in the Army, engineering battalion. They sent me to Greenland twice. I never forgave them for that. And then I had 33 years in Texas with the Highway Department.
Oh, wow.
And moved up here in 97 when I retired.
Okay.
In fact, I helped move in this building in 97.
Wow.
This is an old movie theater they converted.
Yep.
So the rest of that's history. I've been involved with it over the years for about 30 or 35 years doing the research.
Okay.
And in addition to Roswell, which is my primary research, also done underground bases.
Oh, wow.
Area 51 in Nevada and the pyramids of Giza.
Oh, wow.
So I was busy with research for 30 years.
Yeah, well, and especially as a civil engineer, when you start talking about things like underground bases, that kind of stuff, like it's pretty fascinating. We now have like Boring Company who's out there doing things, but people don't realize that technology has been around for decades.
Well, for instance, FEMA has emergencies. They're always there.
Yep.
They have over 100 underground facilities.
Oh, wow.
They have computers. They know more about you than your mother.
Yeah.
And we believe they have all Americans on that.
Absolutely.
That system.
Yeah, and that's something that we talk about on the show all the time is, of course, the rise of AI, but it's nothing new.
No.
Like I grew up in the 80s hearing about, server farms under Oklahoma that were listening to every phone call. The only way you're listening to every phone call is to be sorting that with AI. You didn't have a bunch of people with a PBX system tapping in, recording something, So
the technology we've developed in the last 50 years, I tell people at lectures, if I have a computer problem, I call some 12-year-old kid to come fix it. Because that's my knowledge of computers.
That's it. Find a 15-year-old that knows how to use this thing for me. Now, with that in mind, especially talking about recovered technologies, things like that, you're many years out on site. What were the things that you came to find at the site, Dennis?
Not a thing at the site.
Okay.
They were sent people out there. Military people went out at least twice, shoulder to shoulder, and they absolutely cleaned it up. Now, we have gone back several times, once with the University of New Mexico Archaeological Group, sponsored by the Sci-Fi Channel. We've done some digging out there, we've taken samples, nothing has shown up. So we'd like to go back again and do more research.
Sure.
But they got a new owner on the ranch, and he wouldn't let anybody in.
That makes things hard.
Yes.
And I'm a rock hound myself, things like that. A lot of people don't realize what it takes to get a property owner to allow you to come onto a property, like even to search for agate or something like that.
I can understand he don't want general people out there running around on his property. He's got sheep and cattle, open range, no fence. So I can understand that, but for researchers, he ought to let us get in there.
One would think so, and you do kind of have to wonder about that, especially with the provenance of the property, things like that.
I think the government paid him to buy the ranch.
Yeah, I would not doubt that one bit. There's the whole story of how the CIA helped Walt Disney purchase the property in Florida. Like, quite literally, they helped him purchase the property.
I've learned things that I had no idea about since I've been doing this research.
It's all kinds of funky rabbit holes under the ground once you start digging.
Yeah, it really is.
What was one of the most fascinating things that you came across during your time of investigation and tours out there, Dennis?
Well, we've had over 600 first and second-hand witnesses over the years.
Wow.
They've all passed away.
Wow. That's a ton, though.
Yeah, and I've interviewed several that I knew personally. Two of the founders of the museum, one was the mortician in 47, Glenn Dennis.
Yep.
And the other one was the public relations officer for the atomic bomb group.
Oh, wow.
And most people don't understand that. The B-2 bombers that bombed Iran last week,
Yep.
they are the same group that was here in 1947.
Absolutely.
The 509th Composite Bomb Wing.
Yep.
And most people don't realize that, but
That's right.
they have been respected. They went from Japan when they dropped the bombs to Roswell to England and now in Missouri.
Yeah.
The same group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even the story of crashed material going to Fort Worth, stuff like that. Like, whenever you go onto that Air Force base, like
It went. The final resting place was Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio.
Absolutely.
Where it is today, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But we do know it went there because we knew the pilot that flew it.
Yep. Yeah, precisely. And like you said, 600 witnesses over the years. That is a staggering amount.
You take the judicial system here now in the United States. One witness can put someone away for life or even execution.
That's right.
One witness.
Yep.
We have 600 and we couldn't get in the courtroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they waited till all these witnesses died to start having whistleblowers and stuff like that.
Well, and you know, the one thing that I bring up on the show regularly, Dennis, is the idea that if you look at the past history of things, the prime example I give is Area 51.
Yep.
For years, you know, you heard Bob Lazar's story. He was really the first one to come out about Area 51 in that kind of way, and S4, that kind of stuff. And it was poo-pooed for years and years and years, until like 1991, when some people sued the government because of off-gassing of fumes from the burning of stealth materials.
Right.
And then Bill Clinton had to be like, yeah, there's
Above
Area
ground,
51.
by the way.
Yeah.
That was not allowed anywhere in the country.
It was burn pits. It was just open burn pits, dump gasoline on it, and light it up. Jet fuel, rather.
You are aware when it started?
When's that?
Area 51.
Shortly after 47, wasn't it?
1955.
Oh, okay.
By the CIA, not the military.
Yes, that I knew.
It was purchased and set up to test the U-2 spy plane.
Yep.
And every military plane we've had since then, it's been test flown up there.
And that's the actual name, is the Groom Lake Proving Grounds.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
I was there in '97.
Even the idea of the secrecy behind that, and the fact that we eventually had to admit that. We eventually had to come forward. There were lawsuits. So we had to admit that, yes, there are secret bases.
We admit it's there. That's all we admitted.
And much like with the Cash Landrum case in Texas, right down the road from where my brother and I were born, those are things that led to federal lawsuits with people, actual court cases, things like that. So, when you're looking at, like you said, the idea of, in court nowadays, you'd be looking at, if you had 10 people that fingered somebody, you'd be pretty close to conviction. When you got 600 people that are pointing their finger, nobody wants to listen.
Right, exactly.
Now, with that in mind, where do we take the story now, Dennis? After your many years of looking into this, investigating it, bringing people out to the crash site, explaining the story.
Well,
how do we bring this to the modern generation?
The one thing that hurts us, those 600 witnesses have all died.
Yeah.
It's my hope that someone is still alive that was here or knows about it and will give us a deathbed confession.
Yeah.
I don't plan on that happening. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But as far as the future of it, you can tell by the number of people that come here. We get about 200,000 people a year at the museum.
Wow.
Last November, we had our 5 millionth visitor.
Man.
So it's popular.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of the locals could care less about it.
Yeah.
The story died 3 days after it happened. However, the museum gives the city of Roswell $60 million a year. So they may not like the event, but they like the money we generate.
Darn tootin'. And that's something that we actively talk about regularly. Like we sponsor, on my show, we sponsor the Falk Monster Festival. We sponsor a few festivals like that are specifically about localized things. And that it's actually really interesting, whether you're talking about Hopkinsville with the Hopkinsville Goblins, Falk Monster with the Falk Monster Festival, and Falk, Arkansas. It's interesting to see how communities treat these things. They are either 100% behind it, or it's like 50-50. And like Falk, there's a good 50% of the older population that would rather the looky-loos go away.
This festival, they tolerate it.
Yeah.
Because they know it's going to be 3 days and it'll be done.
Yeah.
So they don't worry about it.
Well, and that's just it, though. It really does bring about a mentality that we kind of have to correct a little bit when it comes to things like this.
That's a good point. I have quit doing lectures for myself. I do them for kids.
Yeah.
They need to know what happened here.
Exactly.
I can't tell them what it was, but we know something happened.
Well, and the idea is to spark the imagination of the next generation. Like, I'm 50 years old this year. And
you're a child.
The example that I give, though, is whenever I walk into a Knights of Columbus meeting, people buy me beer. They're like, hey, look at this young buck. Let's keep him around. And I'm like, hey, we need to find a 25-year-old, my friend, not the 50-year-old.
Just for the record, I'm 83.
You look nothing more than 38.
Thank you.
But in all reality, it is the fact of, if we don't grab the attention of these kids, even for the scientific research of it, even for the open mind of looking outside the box, then by the time they get to the point of wanting to be a scientist, this will not be a point of interest for them.
Right, yeah. So, kids grew up with Star Trek, the X-Files, all that. It's no big deal to them.
Yeah.
They probably wonder why you have to research this. We know they exist.
Yeah. Can we meet the Romulans already?
Yeah.
And I want to thank you so much for your time today, Dennis. Truly.
You're certainly welcome.
I want to thank you for your years of educating people on these things. Let everybody know where they can go to get searching for truth, as well as Roswell UFO Tour and everything else that you do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Where else can they find all of this material that you've done?
Can't.
You can't. You physically have to come to
I
Roswell.
worked with Stanton Friedman, the original researcher, for 27 years till he passed away.
Wow.
And I learned a lot from him because he didn't back down to anyone.
No.
And my thing is, I'm brutally honest.
You got to be.
And I don't go with theory or anything like that. I want factual information.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I stick with.
Well,
and that served me well over the years.
Well, I want to thank you once again for all your work,
You're
everything you've
welcome.
done, and your continued work.
Thank
you so much for your time.
All right.
While you are online checking out everything about the Roswell UFO Festival, everybody, make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can like, follow, subscribe. That's where you can find all the episodes. That's where you can find all the books, movies, and classes by our guests. Stay tuned through these quick commercial breaks. We'll be right back with our continuing on-location coverage of the Roswell UFO Festival 2025 right here at the International UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico, right after this.
The key to good science is good research. At the heart of good research is a good data set. With the field observation and encounter log from Curious Research, you can easily keep track of your investigative information all in one place, making it easier to review cases and readily see comparisons and contrasts between them. Whether out in the woods squatching, in a back room gathering EVPs, or using high-tech gear to track UFO, UAP activity, this easy-to-carry, pocket-sized scientific data log is the perfect companion for any field researcher. You can find your copy of the Curious Research Field Observation and Encounter Log at Amazon.com or visit the official Curious Realm store at CuriousRealm.com/store to reserve your copy for yourself, your family, or a mind that you want to open. That website again is CuriousRealm.com/store.